Alright, welcome back guys. This is the section where I'm going to be talking about the different classroom management tools available for you. This is going to be including ClassDojo, ClassCraft, and GoNoodle. So, obviously if you're not very interested in the ClassDojo section, I believe I will have a time link on the very bottom where you guys will be able to jump to the ClassCraft part of the video or GoNoodle. But otherwise, you're more than welcome to take a listen to this and see if this is the right tool for you guys. Alright, let's take a look at ClassDojo. So here's where I'm going to be basically showing you how you could set up this and maybe even integrate it within a team of grade or maybe even an entire middle school. However, I would like to say this right now for most of the middle school team at AMS, we already have in place a very powerful school-wide system, the behavior cards. So this should be used only if you are interested in creating something of a probably inter-class currency system. There's a lot of different ways to be using this. But let's see what are the basics of it. Now, you will need an email for signing up on this. You are free to use the the Academy's email that you guys are given already, but I've known there was a few issues on basically confirming on this one. However, those of you guys who are at MASA, I will be most likely throwing this responsibility over to Mr. Bono, who is going to be taking in control of this, where I used to be basically the leader of this one, introducing to every single teacher here. There is already a charter school right here, but I believe it's very simple to move it over to the academies for those of you guys who are at the academies. Now, otherwise, you'll see that I'm connected to various teachers over here on this one website. Not all teachers are there because if I was to connect to another teacher, you're required to receive their teacher code. The teacher code is actually very simple to get, where once you hit the school settings, all you have to do is hit show my code and be able to link it with the other teacher. Why is this needed? Well, because if a student was able to jump into our school network, they would be very much easy to just jump on there, hit this code button, and be able to edit the student's points and probably miss up with the integrity or the consistency within the school's point system over there. How do we set up a classroom? Well, let me go ahead and just set up a sample classroom for now, just to show you guys a quick way of doing it. So over here, we are going to be looking at creating our new classroom. First thing is going to be creating an icon that is probably most relevant to your subject. For example, let's pick computers because I'm a computer teacher. Now, we can do any class name for this, so let's just say I want to call this first period. First period, very simple, and let's go ahead and throw in my favorite grade level, 6th grade in there. Let's say create class. So, let's go ahead and add a name in here. There's Strata, and maybe we'll put in there's Strata, and let's go ahead and put in this one too. And maybe finally one more. And you will see, as I was typing in the names, a random avatar will appear for the default monsters that are added to the system. You are free to edit this. For example, let's go ahead and go to ClassDojo Monsters for the database here, and there's going to be a bunch of defaults that should be loading up. Looks like it's having a little trouble loading up, but that's okay. You'll definitely see the monsters. Let's leave it at that, so that way you'll have something to practice yourself. But I also love doing this. Being able to import your own pictures into this has always been one of my favorite things. For example, maybe you could even add it as an incentive, where maybe the best students will receive an MVP badge instead. So let's go ahead and add that one, and let's just say this is a full classroom. Probably our dream classroom to have only 3 students, but let's just put that in there for now. Now, third page you'll see here is the parents page, where you're actually able to invite parents to consistently check their students' behavior anywhere from the cell phone or even from the website. They even can opt in to get behavior reports for their email. I highly recommend printing out the sheet that comes with this, which I'll show you in a little bit, and delivering it to the parents. This way, parents will be one of the best motivations for their kids and be able to use it as basically an incentive for maybe their own kids. Also, what's available for them is there is a parent ClassDojo app that they can download on their cell phone. This parent app will be able to allow them to check their students' behavior from their cell phone and be able to message the teacher directly through their own email, or better yet, for your own ClassDojo app. Now, would this be meaning that there's going to be parents who will be able to text you anytime? No. Your cell phone number is still going to be safe, your personal number, and etc., etc. Instead, it's going to be a messaging service directly tied in within the app. The app will basically tie in your email as an account, so that way parents will be messaging your account rather than your personal cell phone, but they will still be able to be messaging you and basically, in some sense, harassing you if you're going shopping and suddenly you get a message about, hey, why is my kid getting this behavior? Well, you are also free to message them back and harass them back by sending your own message through your own application there. Let's go ahead and move on for this creation process though. This is where you guys will be able to download your invitations. That means when you download this invitation, it's going to pop up as a PDF file. I highly recommend printing them out, handing them over to your students, and if you're going to go with a class currency system, you could even use that as a kind of permission slip for them. That way, when the parents sign it and they see that Class Dojo code on there, they can use that to register themselves onto the Class Dojo website so that they will be getting their own student, or not students, my fault, their own child's behavior reports. It's going to be very personalized, and as a matter of fact, I can't wait to show you guys basically how this is going to work. So let's just go ahead and download this. And there it is, a PDF file, but as you can see, I don't have PDF Reader on there, so let's not worry about that for now. You're going to have to basically take my word for it, or we can just try it out right now and on your own laptop, and I'll show you guys in person. It's much better than that, you know? So now we're done with parents, I hope so, but this is where you can set up your own behavior. Those of you guys who maybe want to create a only positive based learning environment, feel free to set up all these behaviors and only give out behavior points, so that way the students will only be receiving maybe positive points rather than negative points. But myself, I like to challenge students. I like to give a little bit of needs work and basically modify the net gain of that person's or that student's behavior. Now let's go ahead and add our own behavior just so I can show you guys basically some of the nifty things you can do here. Now, let's go ahead and put a heart here, and we're going to title this positive behavior that we want to encourage this child to do, called giving Mr. Shu a snack. Very good. And let's just say that this point weight by default is by 1. That means the student will be earning 1 point every time you decide to click on this behavior. Let's go ahead and add this as a 3.1, so that way we can encourage students to be showing this behavior more often. It will show up as a 3 next to it, so that means the students will be able to know that also that behavior will be a 3-point behavior. Needs work. Now let's say I want to probably edit some of these already preset behaviors, like bullying. Bullying is intolerable in my classroom, so I want to make a really harsh punishment for them. Let's make it a -2 over there. Save and close, finish. And this is going to be your splash screen that you will see when your classroom is loaded up. This is one of the more important screens because this shows basically what the students will be able to see, and this is what you want to show on your projector board. Now, this is where some of the things are about these classroom management tools can be a hit or miss with some of the teachers. Some teachers don't have the ability to be able to be constantly displaying the screen on there because they want to rather be showing their document camera, showing off a page in the book. But that's fine. You don't have to always leave this up, because one of the better things about this application is that it will actually be able to use a kind of signal when a student gets a behavior. Let me demonstrate it for you real fast. Let's say Strata is doing great, he's helping others, and if the students know that, they can just hear for this sound. Very, very, very pleasant sound. Very kind of affirming to the, let's wait for that plane to pass. Very, very affirming sound, very positive, very pleasant for any student to hear. And what I found most useful in that sense is that later on, when students are beginning to understand the sounds that are given to them, they would slowly be looking for that sound, and whenever they hear that, it just means a pleasant thing. I sometimes do it when the students are just working silently, and then when I notice some student doing very well, I click it, they see that name pop up on the big screen, it just quickly shows up. So let's say Kathy Hartley was maybe working as participating. They look for that name on the very bottom of the screen right there, and they just get excited from it. Now, just as the positive behavior sounds are the best, there's also the ones where they will be listening to the sounds that are very discouraging to them. For example, let's say Samantha Janzo was basically probably bullying someone. They would be very unpleasant and they would hear this sound. Not the best sound ever. Such a bad sound that my own dog didn't like it, so he started barking, so I had to edit that part out. He's still growling, he still hears it. But regardless, that sound is very discouraging to most of the students, and they learn to really hate that sound there. Now this is all fine and dandy, but Mr. Shu, I can't always be in front of my computer. Well, that's fine, because if you have a very good cell phone service from maybe your classroom, or you're connected to our classroom Wi-Fi, you can actually download the Class Dojo app. And the best thing is, you can go through your phone. the best thing is you can go for your phone and you can collect the behavior from your phone, and they will actually go in sync with your computer as long as both your computer and your cell phone is getting good reception. They can communicate with each other, both server based. So from your phone, you could actually award points. So from your phone, you'll be able to be awarding points or taking away points. Now, let's just say we are going to be doing a currency system where we tally up the points at the end of the week and we add it to a large spreadsheet for maybe the students to be looking at. This can be done by going to the reports. The reports, you can see an overall classroom report, or you can see individual students' reports, which is what they will be seeing when they log in on their own. Now, you can see where some of the areas where they may need work and maybe the areas where the whole classroom is. You can set a classroom goal that way. You can say, I would like all students to be able to receive a 75% or better on their reports. If 90% of the students were able to do that, then they will be given a, let's say, in-class party. Very good stuff. Let's go ahead and see a already set classroom so you guys can see what a pretty much a fully developed classroom point system looks like. So let's go ahead and go to all time. Right now, the Class Dojo is basically trying to gather up all the data that it had for the entire school year. There it is, 92% for a classroom right there. That is a very, very good classroom if you ask me. You will also notice that on the bottom there are all the different teachers that were linked to my classroom giving points or taking away points. That's one of the better things that I love about this system, is that if you get a whole class, or my fault, a whole school on board with this, they will be able to go into the page and they'll see maybe, this student is coming into my classroom with a -1 point. Why? And you can check in reports and be like, oh, that's why. And that being said, they already know that, the student already knows he's accountable for that behavior, because you will be looking at him like saying, I don't want you to be at a -3 at this point. I want you to stay at a -1, or maybe even better, let's see if you can earn those positive points to earn yourself back up. One of the other things I like about this, it gives you a percentile, a common percentile that the students are given at. You can see the ones with a lower percentile may need a little bit more reassurance or readjustment to the classroom, or reminders. Now, for ideas on getting a better classroom website or a better classroom currency, we've done a whole idea where the students had to earn. The top 40 will go on a field trip. That's always good. For myself, I've actually done it at Masa, where if a student receives a -3, no questions asked, it can be for like, they could be at a -2 already from, let's say, Mr. Bono's class, and they come into my classroom, they only get one chance. One chance before they receive the card signature, which is our common school-based system going on there. For other grade levels, or for any other for anybody else who is interested in finding different ideas on how to put this system into the classroom, I found a wonderful website. Let's take a look. I found this wonderful website, Going Strong in Second Grade, a great blog by a great teacher who has basically centered her whole classroom theme around the idea of Class Dojo. There's the Dojo store. Kids can earn basically stickers, piece of candy, for basically the points that they got there. I'll link this in the video later so you guys can check it out on your own time, but from what I can see here is that they've basically created a sort of a real-life situation, very relatable for any student to be following. That way they will be able to basically, that way students will be able to be seeing their points as something tangible. They're rewarded, they're recognized for their behavior, and they are able to put their own points into something that they can control. Students love that. Students love control. And by doing this, you can show them that they are in control of their behavior, because they're linking the idea that behavior equals points, equals things I can buy. Highly recommend this website. Very well done, by the way. I love her layout. And we'll talk about that maybe later on Google Sites. All right. The next classroom management system I want to talk about is Classcraft. Classcraft I use specifically for only 2 classes or so for both Masa and AMS. Classcraft is a more sort of a centered around the idea of that students are in control of a character that they can create at the beginning of the year. At the beginning of the year, this is what I did for this one. I basically gave the students the choice between the 3 preset classes in the Classcraft, one being a healer, one being a mage, and one being a warrior. Each of these 3 classes are supposed to actually work in a unison, in a team. As you can see, Team 1 consisted of these 4 students right here, and each one had a different class that they were in charge of. Each class had their own sort of skill set that they can use, which they earn from leveling up and from, well, no, let's try that again. And each class set had their own sort of skills that were pretty useful for both the students inside there. For example, this character had the ability to heal some of the teammates for HP. So let's go ahead and talk about HP, AP, XP, and GP for maybe those of you guys who are not too familiar with such terms. HP basically stands for health points within the classroom system. The health points are basically what keeps a player alive, or we should rather say player rather than, no, let's try again. HP basically is a health point system which students are able to see as kind of, let's say, a tally system for them. Different punishments make them lower their HP. For example, let's say this student was disturbing the class. I would have to do that and they would lose 5 HP right there. When the student runs out of HP, they'll be forced into basically something called a Book of Laminance, where basically there are punishments for each student there, and they would have to fulfill it depending on the punishment there. AP is ability points. Different abilities or skills are required for a certain amount of points. For example, if this student wanted to be able to heal someone, that would cost 15 AP. Students replenish their AP based on good behavior or basically leveling up, which they gain from XP. XP is basically the bread and butter of this whole classcraft system, where students are rewarded for what they've been doing inside a classroom. For example, let's say this one right here. Let's say he was just doing awesome in general, because I believe students should be rewarded for just being a wonderful student and showing a great model of how to behave in the classroom. Then students will be able to track their XP over here and be able to gain a level once that bar fills up. GP is rewarded upon each level, and looks like just recently have an updated on basically you can give them gold pieces anytime you would like to. Gold pieces will be then later chosen by the students in there, and they're able to buy their own classroom outfits, as you can see right here. Each, despite these two characters being the same class, they each have a different set of outfits that they chose to purchase within the Classcraft shop. It's a wonderful, very, well, let's just put it this way. It's a very powerful system which requires quite a bit of maintenance over there. So let's go ahead and take a look at the classroom manager. Let's take a look at the classroom manager right here, where we can actually customize the rules or customize the players and teams. Here are the different teams that I've added for this one. And if we go back, we actually have an option to customize the rules. This is pretty handy right here, because let's say, so for example, some of the powers that they're given here are not very good for your classroom's rules. Because, let's see, there was one right here, hunting. Hunting allows a student to eat inside the classroom. Maybe you're inside a science lab and you cannot allow for the student to be eating any form of food inside that classroom. You are free to edit this by just basically just hitting this pencil bar, and you can say that instead of hunting, it can be something like, oh, you can choose a book to read anytime for about 10 minutes set aside. Or you can change the amount of AP required for it so that students will not be able to abuse this privilege all the time. Now, there's also something fun called events, which I run every single day that the students arrive. It's kind of like a random event situation where students are able to change things. For example, fresh air. You need a breeze. Everyone gains For example, let's look at this one. Fresh air. You need a breeze. Everyone gains 10 HP. Very handy. Or the Gift of Angels. Lucky you. A player gains 1000 XP instantly. This, as you can see on the side, only applies to one player. There are other events that may apply to an entire team right here. Now, let's take a quick look at basically the classroom game dashboard again, and look at some of the tools that you can actually use for basic everyday use. Wheel of Destiny. Wheel of Destiny can be your random chooser. For example, I want to just pick a random person. Ephraim, why don't you answer a question over here? Simple as that. Other ones include the quest, which are basically just a very fancy word of saying a countdown or a stopwatch. Good for basically tests, when tests are going sent out, or basically you want to see how long it takes one team to complete a single assignment. Now, another interesting way of doing this is a grade book. If you have some grade that you want to import into here so that students earn XP based on their assignments, you are free to do so by importing them this way. I don't formally use this one because I just basically give them points as awarded when they are turning in their homework. I find it a little bit more tedious to basically put in grades for both our gradebook and the gradebook for Classcraft. Analytics are pretty handy where basically you're able to see some of the students' growth. So let me just go ahead and put in, go back in time, and there we go. And you can see that there's different dates where this student has been able to earn some points depending on some of the behaviors that she has done. I did not use Classcraft so much in this classroom, so unfortunately you're not seeing a very great graph where it's going into the negatives or positives. Well, that's pretty much it for Classcraft. Let's move on to the next section now. GoNoodle. GoNoodle is a website, unfortunately, that I'm not very familiar with. I would basically, if you guys are choosing to sign up right now or just log in at the time being, I'll gladly look at the website with you. I've heard great things about it, such as integrating exercise as a reward rather than a punishment into the classroom. I heard that it's great for the lower grade levels, so let's take a look at it together today. All right. Well, thank you for watching the classroom management section of the videos. Hopefully you guys found this useful, and let's go ahead and play around with some of these. Let's set up our classrooms. Let's go ahead and take a look and see if this is the right fit for you guys. All right. Hope you enjoyed this video.